Hello, hello, hello. And thank you for joining us with the movement. We are the movement, a motivational organization here to educate minds, empower, nurture, and transform. Our goal is to help you thrust into your purpose so that you can live your best life. We want to see you win. We are on the move to winning, and we want to keep you on the move to winning. We're the movement, a movement to move. And you could have gone anywhere else, but we thank you. If you are a first timer with us, we ask that you follow all of our platforms at Movement Worldwide, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. We're everywhere. LinkedIn, we're everywhere. And soon to come is movementworldwide.com. You'll be able to join us on the World Wide Web. So, Annette, my partner, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I want to say hello to everybody. We're excited about tonight, what we're going to discuss. We thank you so much for coming, whether you're on right now or whether you see the recorded version. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you.
Okay, so we've been on a quest for the last month or two, really trying to help people understand how to get into the position of their vision, of their purpose. We know that everyone is designed for something in this world. And sometimes we get caught up in life. Life has a way of getting you so lost that you don't even, you can't find your way out. You don't know where to start. I mean, sometimes we go through bad relationships, divorces, death, all kinds of things, losing our jobs, financial problems, depression. It could be just about anything. So I want you all to know that we want to make sure that we can give you tools that we are using and have used to pull us out of a place to shift into different careers, movements, ministries, whatever it is. There's something that you are designed to do, and there's something that's inside you that people actually need. And we want to help you get that. So tonight we have a discussion that we're going to do. We're just going to talk. Can we talk? We just want to talk. I want to give you a couple of little instructions. If you're on your cell phone, it'll be down in the bottom right hand of your telephone. If you're on Zoom, it should be on your particular picture that's on the screen, 3 dots. If you want to say something, please just raise your hand, because I have everyone muted so that we could stay in on this discussion and not hear everyone's background noises. But we will open up the mic at any time if you have anything you want to say, if you have a question. And then I also want everyone to do this. If you could go into your chat box and type in where you're calling in from, so that we make sure that everybody knows where that is. And we want you to use it. We want to see what you have to say. This is not just a one-way street. We want everyone to be involved. We want you all to participate, type in whatever city you're living in right now, where you're calling in from, and we would like to see it. We would like to hear from you. So just take a minute and do that, and then we're going to go right back into our lesson. But I'm excited about tonight. You excited in it?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. We have some great things to discuss. So we've been preparing for y'all, which we have to do every week. We don't take this lightly. We're very serious about it. Yeah. We're very motivated. We're very moved. And, there's some things that we've experienced. We're not psychologists. We're lifeologists. We've lived, we've experienced some things. And trust me, I can tell you from experience, I have had one business before that I started with $400. I'm the type of person that nothing and no one will stop me. But I've learned some things over these 5 decades that I've been living. I'm 50 years old. I've learned some more things and some more tools. And in this day and age, it's on a whole nother level. And I want to share that. I want to see you guys come right along with me onto this journey to winning. I want everybody to win. So our topic for tonight is an interesting one. When we hear of this particular title, topic, whatever you want to call it, very rarely are we talking about it from a Christian perspective. I don't know if there's anyone on here who does yoga, but usually in yoga, and I have a cousin who used to always say, yoga is the devil's work, because they have you doing all kinds of things. There's a lot of kind of new agey feel to it. And I used to go to a Christian yoga class, and she used to tell me all the time, girl, I don't know what, they talk about find your center and the downward dog and finding your chi. But, I'm very particular about that, I don't knock what anybody else does, but I'm very particular. But I went to a Christian yoga instructor, and she was always talking about the center. You got to find your center. You've got to find your center. So that's what our topic is tonight. Our topic is finding your center. And we want to, I'm on the wrong page. Y'all give me just a minute. Finding your center. That's where we are. Finding your center. And we want to help you know how to get there. Getting down to the heart of the matter. That's what we're dealing with tonight. Getting down to the heart of the matter. Finding your center. Now, the first thing that I thought about when we decided to go on to this topic is when we're talking about a center, we're talking, the one thing that kept coming to me, and I don't know why I kept going here, but I mean, I know it was a move of God to speak into me, saying to deal with this one particular thing. And trust me, I'm not the actual perpetual student who, I don't even hardly remember how to add, add, subtract, multiply, divide, less alone some of the other things. I was interested in a lot of things in school. Science was one of my great subjects. Math was not. But of course I have the gift of gab, so I love to talk and sing. Give me a microphone, I can go all day long. But I had, something just came to me like, wow, talk about the Holy Spirit to bring things back to your remembrance. And that, because where in the world would I get the word axis? And when I started dealing with that, are you on? Are you muted? Oh, you're not, you're muted. How did you get muted? Did you mute yourself? Okay, there you are. So I dealt with the word axis. What is an axis? What in the world is an axis? The only thing I've ever thought about when it came to an axis was the planet Earth. And I'm like, okay, so the planet Earth. So I started looking up axis. What is an axis? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. It's a straight line that an object rotates around. No matter which way you put this word, it's something that's straight in the center of whatever the object is, that the object rotates around. Everything about that object rotates around that center, rotates around that axis. That's what an actual axis is. And when we started dealing with this, I know I was sharing with Annette that it made me go back to science. I was not that student. I was, I liked it, but I didn't love it. I didn't love it. If you had to choose, which I don't think anybody would even have a problem knowing what mine was, but if you had to choose your favorite subject, type what your favorite subject was in school. Mine was undoubtedly chorus, because I wanted to sing everything. I would sing every commercial. I would sing every sitcom. I would sing with, I sang with the radio. Don't mess around and give me a tape recorder. I was that kid who was constantly with a tape recorder because I wanted to tape myself and hear myself sing back. So, Annette says science. Ebony said reading. I'm chorus all day long. But you know what? I guess my second subject was science. So, Ebony, this is right down your alley tonight, because science was definitely not my first. It may have been my second, because I did enjoy it. It was full of a lot of interesting things. And I was okay, but I think my least favorite, honestly, and this is the funniest thing, it wasn't even math, because I didn't really care for math, but my least favorite subject, and I had to take a couple of years of it, was art. Because okay. I could never draw, and everything that I made out of clay looked like something deformed. So I never liked art. But I was a chorus and science girl. I just love science. I don't know why. But when I started looking at how the Earth rotates, it rotates on an axis. And I think, and then you were talking about something about the rotation of the Earth and about the tilting of the axis. And when you start dealing with the tilting of the axis and how it's positioned, that determined how the seasons change. Because as the Earth rotates around the sun, the seasons change. That's why we have winter, spring, summer, fall. Now, unfortunately, in Florida, we don't really have seasons to that degree. And Ebony says she never got to enjoy chorus. She has a beautiful voice. I don't know why. But you know what? Chorus in school can be a little political sometimes, and it can be a little strange. And then, of course, in school, we're learning classical music as opposed to, for those of us, and Ebony, I know you can relate to this, growing up in church, and your whole family sang from the mama all the way down to the babies. So you know what it's like to be in a family that sings and everybody's singing. So that's probably where you got your musical prowess and your the fun out of the talent. Because school, for some people, has not been a fun place musically. I deal with that all the time with kids now. So I started dealing with the whole position of the rotation, that object with that line running right through it, that everything rotates around. Now, there are so many different words that this actually applies to, and I want to go over some of that with you. This actual process, when we're talking about rotation and talking about the axis, has so many different key points to it. And I keep ending up on the wrong pages, but I'll get us there. So I want to zoom in just a little bit on what an axis is from different perspectives. Now, first thing I talked about was the axis of symmetry. This is, again, this ain't my subject, but this is more of a mathematical thing.
Yeah. But
when I looked at this, it was kind of a bridge between math and science. Because what an axis of symmetry is, it's just a line through a shape so that each side is a mirror image. So if there's a line down the middle, each side of that particular object will act as a mirror. It's the exact same. Mm-hmm. Now, remember, I don't know if you guys, well, I'm sure you guys have done this. All of you have kids. Or you've been around some kids at some point. Sharon and I don't have kids, but God knows we're probably raised enough and been around enough. But when you fold a paper and you cut a shape and you open the paper up, you have like a whole heart. If you cut the half of the heart, you open the paper up, it's a whole heart. Mm-hmm. So that center in that paper is an axis of symmetry because it's the line down the middle, and when you fold it, each side is a mirror of each other. Now, there's a photo I'm going to show you. In this photo, if you look at that photo down the center of this dog, that center is the axis of symmetry. Mm-hmm. So when you fold that, each side is going to mirror the other. Now, when we think about ourselves as the object and the axis of symmetry that is in the center of our being, if we take one side and mirror it with the other side with an axis down the middle, remember it's an axis, it's a line that goes down the middle of the object. But when you take that thing and you turn it into a mirror image of itself, what do you see? Mm. Wow. What's in your mirror image? Wow. Because whatever is in the center is going to determine what you see on the other side. However that line is in the center, it's going to determine. Now, if you put your line a little to the left or a little to the right, if it's off center, then it won't be a direct replica. If you take a piece of paper and you fold it, but one side is not the same size, if it's not folded directly down the middle, and you cut a shape, it's not going to mirror each other. Each side is going to be different. So the center has to be right. What's at the center has to be correct. Because when you look in the mirror image, you see details. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I look in the mirror, I'm looking at, I start seeing stuff I don't want to see. You know, one of the worst things that has ever been for me to actually see, you know, when you're in a hotel and you have that mirror that amplifies the bathroom, oh, don't give me one of those. When I have one of those mirrors, I'm in that mirror for hours. Because one of my trades back in the day was an esthetician. So I had a spa years ago, and I used to do nails and facials and pedicures and everything. I would get in that mirror in the hotel, and I'm like, oh my God, I have blackheads. And before you know it, I'm exfoliating everything because that mirror shows everything. It amplifies it, and you're able to see it. So you want to go after it. So when you look in the mirror, you see details. Because I'm sure when you get up in the morning, you're like, oh goodness. Because you don't see what's crowding up under your eyes when you sleep. Your hair is a mess. Everything is a mess. But when you look in the mirror, you may not like what you see at the moment, but what are you going to do? You're going to work on yourself until you like what you see in the mirror.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have to deal with what's staring back at you. How many times have you been there, and that when you have actually taken the time to deal with the details, and it's like been eye-opening for you?
So many times, actually. And a lot of times there's no symmetry. It's just the truth. And you don't like what you see. You're off. Mm-hmm. And that's why symmetry really is a balance. You need to have some type of balance. And a lot of times we're off. We're off and we don't like what we see. And sometimes we try to do something about it. Sometimes we just ignore it. But that's the importance of finding your center, because you'll find your balance and you'll find some type of harmony.
And I'll tell you this, you may look in the mirror and not like what you see, but you can put makeup on anything.
True.
But have you changed it?
Yeah.
You can put on makeup, because I may not like what I'm seeing as far as, the details of my life. But if I put on makeup and go outside, I think that nobody else can see it. Yeah. But you can only hide so much. You can only hide it for so long.
That's true. You're right.
But you're right. Balance is the key. Balance is the key. When you said that, that really threw me. There's no symmetry. It's off center. Yeah. There's no symmetry in your life, and symmetry is balance. That's what keeps the earth rotating. It's balanced on the axis. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have to balance on what's at the center.
Exactly.
That's quite the interesting point there. The other thing is we see experiences and challenges. The things that we think that we can hide from other people, we see it when we're dealing with that mirror image. We can see it. Looking at this picture of this dog, if the line was over the eye, when one side looked at the other, it would clearly see that there's something wrong with the eye. And that's how we look. And maybe there's an experience that may have caused your vision to be blurred, or you have on rose-colored glasses, your vision is off. Some of the challenges that you've been through have you bruised and battered, and you're not getting any sleep, so you got bags under your eyes. Yeah. You've been crying, your eyes are puffy and red. Or for women who are in abusive relationships, sometimes I've seen many documentaries and stuff and read many articles when they said that they couldn't stand to look at themselves in the mirror because it just is the reminder of what was done to them. And what they do is they just fix themselves up to hide it, even from themselves. Yeah. But when you look in the mirror, it is a direct image of what you just went through.
You know what's interesting about that? Sometimes if you take a picture of yourself, I've oftentimes had a picture did not look like I thought I looked.
Woo, girl, let me come on, share. You just said something right there. Because I literally just had this experience. Go ahead, keep going. Keep going. What about me though?
So sometimes I don't know if the symmetry is off, or is my concept of my ideology of what my symmetry is.
You better talk up in here today, girl. Find your room to run.
So then you off because your perception, you're not really looking at what's there. You're looking at your perception of what's there. And that throws your symmetry off, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But go ahead. What was your experience?
I just had this experience, I would say within the last 2 days, in two different instances. And I dealt with someone who I look at one picture of them from months ago, and then I look at another picture of them from now, and right now they thought they were the bomb.com. Like, ooh, because I deal with a lot of artists. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at one picture from way back, and I'm like, wow, she's gorgeous. And then I'm looking at something that I see that was taken like yesterday, and it's like, what? It doesn't even look like the same person. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen this person look so off. And when I took them side by side, it did not mirror. There was no symmetry. Mm-hmm. No symmetry. And I shared that with them, and she burst into tears because the what she's been going through is now so reflective of what, of her outward appearance, even though she thinks that when, just like you said, when she looked in the mirror and left home, that she was a hottie, like she had it going on, because looking in the mirror, she think, But if your symmetry is off, you ain't the bomb.com. You might think that you walked away looking great, but everything that you're dealing with, because your line of symmetry is off, when you walk away from that mirror, everybody can see. And over time, it gets worse and worse. That's why they always say people can see what you're going through. People can see what you're experiencing. And when they tell you you're not hiding from anyone but yourself, it is the truth. Yes. And actually, I gave them to her, and she looked, and she said, wow, that is not the same person. I said, exactly. And I bet you thought you looked like bomb.com when you walked out the mirror, didn't you? She said, I surely did. I thought I was looking good. Exactly. And I did my best. And I'm like, well, honey, this is what you really look like when you do your best. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't stop crying. And she was thanking me so much. Like, I was stuck with her for a minute. She was thanking me so much for revealing that to her and helping her see herself. She said, I couldn't see it, right? What's inside displays on the outside when you don't deal with it. That is so true, Ebony. Yeah. You can hide it for so long, and you're only hiding from you because everyone else can see it. Well, I put it this way, the people who matter. Now, those naysayers who are going to tell you, girl, you got it going on, because misery loves company. Yeah. Because behind your back, they're saying, child, you see Ebony? She look a hot mess, girl. That is the truth. That's true. And you have to decide, you know what? I am not going to let my good be evil spoken of. I'm going to get this line right, because this focus is off. This balance is off. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong. I have to deal with it. I have to deal with why I'm off. There's a reason why I'm off, and I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to handle this today. That's where we have to get. Yeah. Another thing is spiritual maturity. When we really look, and like Annette was saying, when we really get in the mirror and figure out that our line of symmetry is off, we see the maturity. We see that, like, wow, I'm changing, I'm getting it. And that's a good feeling when you actually can see your maturity, when you can see that, you feel lighter when you get some of that heaviness off of you. That burden, heaviness is something else. Sometimes we get so weighted down with problems and issues and finances and romances and foolishness and gossip and, laziness and procrastination and lack and when am I going to get out of this place? We allow all of that stuff to just come down, and it becomes a weight. And we can't move because we're carrying so much stuff. But when we get in the mirror and decide that, okay, you know what? My line of symmetry is off. But before I can get anything, before I can move from this place, this is what I have to do. Boom. I got to lay aside every weight. Boom. I got to detach. Yes. Boom. I got to cut some ties. Boom. I got to set some friendships aside. Boom. I got to break up with this man. Boom. I know that's a hard one. Well, that's a boom. Right. I thought somebody said it right. Oh, that's everybody laughing. Because that's, sometimes it's the stuff that we don't want to do. A lot of times It's the stuff that we know we need to do, Sharon, but we won't do it.
Yeah.
We know that that person or that situation is not good. We know that the job is holding us back, but we won't make plans to leave it. We know that our connection to this certain friend or group of people is not healthy or edifying. But we're so afraid of being alone that we're afraid to cut the tie or afraid to say, you know what, I can't hang out as much as I used to. We know that the things that we're doing that we enjoy, and trust me, I know how it feels. Sin is fun, but it is a deception. It is not the truth. But the actual act of it, boy, you can have some fun sinning, but it's only fun for a moment because the enemy will leave you high and dry, making you think he got you. He ain't got you, honey. No, he doesn't. So we get so caught up, and it's like, and it's very hard sometimes to let that stuff go. But the Bible says we have to lay aside every weight and the stuff that tries to tangle us up and trip us up, because we won't move forward without it. We have to keep looking until we see the image of Christ. The refiner's fire is something else.
Yes, true that, true.
The refiner's fire is something else. We have to make sure that we see the image of Christ. Because when I can tell you, I have been at times caught up in so much bitterness that I look in the mirror and I didn't recognize my face. And I didn't even realize I was frowning. And somebody said to me one time, do you frown all the time? I'm like, what you mean? I didn't even realize that everywhere I went, I had that look on my face like, you ever went to church and you walk in the door and you see somebody looking like that?
Yeah. Yes. How many times? Lord have mercy.
I'll never forget one time. I remember one time I was at a gospel music concert or something, and they called for this certain group of people. You know, they call for, and the next on our program, you know, on the program, and they called for this group of people to get up to come up to sing. And it was 3 girls, and all of them walked up to the microphones like this. Like, what is that about? Why do you have to frown? I never understood what the frown was, but I had that frown. I was frowned up, and one day I literally walked past the mirror, and I happened to look up in the mirror, and I was like this. Like, why am I frowning? But I had been frowning for so long that I didn't realize I was frowning. It was becoming a part of my everyday look. And I did not like it. It didn't look good because it didn't look like me. I didn't even recognize myself. I had to take a double look. That's not a good thing. That's not a good sign.
It's not.
We have to keep. Go ahead, Annette.
What you're doing, you're taking what's on the inside and then you're wearing it on the outside. Mm-hmm. You actually, it's like a shirt. You're wearing, you know, and so that's why we have to become more like Christ. Mm-hmm. But in order to do that, we got to know about him to be, you know, to become like him.
You got to know him.
You got to know him.
If you're going to change that line, you have to know who has to be your center. And that's why it's important for us to understand and really get down to the point that we make ourselves see the image of Christ in the mirror.
Yeah.
Make sure that center is right. We sing it all day long. Jesus, you're the center. Okay, but do you really, really believe it? Do you really believe it? Because I have heard people sing this song, and I have seen people who do everything in their power to be available for God and in ministry, and it seems like their lives go nowhere. I've been there where you're spinning tires on pavement. There's that word again in it. We're spinning tires. We need to do a class called Spinning Tires on Pavement. We're spinning tires on pavement, going around and around and around, but we're staying in the same spot. There's no forward movement. I've been there, and I've seen many people that I know who have been there. And I got tired of being there because the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. When are we going to go get it? Why is it that all the wicked people got the money? It's the majority of the people who are living this abundant, life. And not to say that it's all about money, but the Bible says money answereth all things.
That's right.
We're supposed to have it, and more abundantly. I'm not supposed to worry. My needs are supposed to be met by him. I'm doing something wrong if I'm worried about the needs. If I'm worried about the where I'm going to lay my head and what I'm going to eat, those are the things that have already been made available to me. I shouldn't have to worry about that. And when we're worried about it, something's off. And I'm like, okay, things have to change. I can't be worried about that. I have to be concentrating and focused on the vision. My mind is in the wrong place. I'm worried about something that has already been promised. So I don't want to go out and run and get the manna. I want to have the milk and honey. I got to get the milk and honey mindset. That manna mindset is what kept them wandering for years, wandering and mumbling and grumbling and frowned up and mad. We were better back with Pharaoh. But that's the mentality.
Yeah.
So we have to also understand that it's how we're built. We're built to have a center. Now, Ebony, this is for you. We have what's called an axis, which is the second vertebrae of our neck. If we look right here, that's the axis. Now, what this thing does, this is how the head and the first vertebrae turn like a pivot. That's what makes our head turn. So we're built like that. There are so many different things. I look at it, the earth spins on an axis. There's a line of symmetry in almost every aspect of life when you look at it mathematically and scientifically. I've also learned that with a plant, the stem is the axis. There's a center. God is brilliant. God made stuff to have that center point. This is where, when a person is said to have had a hangman's fracture, it's when it's that, because that's how a neck breaks, right there. Between that axis, and when that axis is off from the atlas, the neck breaks. And a person cannot survive that. They can survive a fracture, but they can't survive a break unless they catch it quickly. Now, when we think about this, we have to think about the fact that our direction depends on the center. It depends on our axis, right? So we have to give way to the one who is the head, y'all ain't hearing me, who is the head of our lives to direct us.
Yes.
So if he is the head, if you have made Christ your center and he is the head of your life, then your direction is always going to be determined by whichever way he turns you. So when your life is shifting and you were going this direction, but all of a sudden your head say, let's go here, that's the direction for you. You have got to make your body go in the direction, because if the head turns that way and the body is still moving straight, what's going to happen?
Yeah, problem.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen to if your head is over here and everything about the head, the eyes and everything are right here, and the body's still moving in this direction, what's going to happen? You're going to bump into something. There you go, Ebony.
Yeah.
Hello, I don't know who just came on, but welcome.
You're right, Nita. It's like these twins that's joined together. There was a twin that was joined together by their head. One head was facing one way, one head was facing another way, and then they had the two legs. So they had to come up with some kind of plan to figure out, now we got two heads, which way we're going to go?
Oh, wow.
And so sometimes you have to be careful that that you got to make sure your plan is to follow Jesus, because if you look at them, I mean, they lived a long time, but it probably took a while for them to kind of get some kind of rhythm going. Because if I'm looking to the right, my one head, and my other head looking to the left, and then but the head telling you to go forward, you got a problem.
You do have a problem.
You got a
and
problem.
You have to think about something too. And thank God that has not been our position. We've not had to deal with that on a personal level, because I wouldn't even begin to know what to do. Because it's a freak of nature when you see somebody connected like that. And and they're sharing a head, like you say, they're joined together, and one wants to go one is looking this way and one is looking that way. Which way are you going to go? And that's what happens when we have division in our lives.
Exactly.
When that line is off, and we're divided between who actually is the line of symmetry, who's at the center, as opposed to trying to put somebody else to be at the center with Christ. You can't do that. I don't care how great that husband is. Jesus is still the center.
Those two heads
together, you join as one, but he's the center. Because a two-headed monster is a freak.
It's a freak of nature. That's right.
That is a freak of nature, and you cannot function like that. So that's crazy. But yeah, that is so true. We have to give way to the one who is the head of our life to direct us. That is a very important thing. Now, I want to do something real quick, because I'm going to go back and do just a quick review before we get to the latter part. But this has been interesting. I want you guys to type in axis, because that's been the thing. I want you to figure that axis. I want you to figure out your center. Oh, that's Jennifer. Hey, Jen. I want you to figure out your center. We have everybody muted. Jen needs to turn on her microphone if she wants to. I don't know if she's completely on. So we have to determine our axis. Who is the center? That is very, very important for us. Very important for us. Now, hold on. I'm going to bring you guys back on. We're going to do just a quick review, just to kind of go through this whole process here. So this is our tonight. Finding your center, getting down to the heart of the matter. What is an axis? Now, jazz. It's that line down the center. When we look at it from the Earth perspective, it's the line down the center that the object rotates around. It's a straight line that an object rotates around, and we're using the Earth here as a point of reference, because that was the definition that came to me. That was the word that came to me when we started dealing with finding your center. It's usually a yoga term, but we also know that everything is applicable. So we zoomed in to figure out what different types of axis of symmetry, a line through a shape that each side is a mirror image. And we show a photo where there's a line down the middle, and if you take that photo and fold it where the line is, each side would mirror each other. So if whatever's in your center, when you look at yourself in the mirror, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see the details. You're going to see every little bump, every little blackhead, every little hair. You're going to see it. You're going to see your experiences and challenges. You're going to see the tears that you cried the night before, the bags under your eyes, the redness. You're going to see the bruises. God forbid if anybody's suffering domestic violence. You're going to see that. You're going to see the wear and tear on your body. If you're substance abuser, if you're smoking and drinking, whatever you're doing, you're going to see it. If you're tired, if you're up all night, you're going to see it. You're going to see the spiritual maturity, because when you recognize it, most of the time we want to do something about it. Sometimes we'll leave that mirror thinking we look good, and we'll go out of the mirror and realize we look a mess until somebody tells us, and then we want to go back in the mirror and make it right. But what you need to see is the image of Christ. Then we start learning how we're built. We look at the axis. We have an axis in our vertebrae. The second vertebrae is an axis. What that does is it determines how the head turns and how the head in the first vertebrae turns, and it's like a pivot between the head and the first vertebrae and the axis. That's why you have to be careful with that particular vertebrae, because that is what can break your neck. The direction that you're going in depends on your center, on your axis. So if your head is turned in one direction and your body is in another, your body gonna crash and burn. So wherever the head is turned is the direction you're supposed to turn in. So that's why we have to give way to the one who is the head of our life to direct us.
Yeah.
So now that we get there, that we find our center, this is where we realize that we found God's will, my peace and my purpose.
Wow.
When you find your purpose, I'm telling you, it is one of the most freeing things that you'll ever experience. There's a lot of people that, oh, Jennifer says she can't hear. She needs to turn on her mic. You didn't see that in it? She needs to turn on her microphone. No, you can see it because Jennifer messaged me privately. If you see Jennifer Wilkins, chat with her on the side so she can, yeah, it's something on her end. Chat with her on the side in it, because there's something on her end as to why she can't hear. She's logged on. I don't know if she's on her phone or if she's on her device.
You know, I don't see her.
Jennifer Wilkins, she's on. Jennifer Wilkins Thomas. You have to go into your chat, manage participants, and you'll see her name on the side. You may have to scroll down, but she's there. So everybody, if you can help Jennifer out by kind of telling her what to do in her phone settings, so that she'll know how to connect. Ebony is talking to her in the chat. So when I got thrown off a little bit, y'all who just logged on, please forgive me. I'm just trying to help one of our people. Looks like she may have found it. Did she find her? Or did she log off? She may have logged off. I think she logged off. She couldn't figure it out.
Okay.
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 Okay, so we have that we found our peace and our purpose. When you find your peace and your purpose, that is such a great place to be, because then you're not weighted down by those problems. You have solved a lot of the issues that you may have had by figuring out or getting to the place where you understand the direction that God means for your life. That's peace. That's purpose.
Yeah.
There's hope in that. Found in my peace and my purpose. Then there's the direction. Sorry, I got two of them in there for y'all. There's a direction, God's positioning system. We talked about this last week, that we have to deal with God's positioning system. We have to give God the right to navigate, to direct us. We constantly try to do this ourselves. I don't know about you, but I've done that. I've tried to put myself in a position where I think that I can navigate. I can handle it.
Yes, I agree. I've done it most of my life. Oh, boy.
You know, there's something that you're not supposed to be in. You know, there may be a relationship. Now, and this, I'm sorry to go down. I don't know if I'm stepping on anybody's toes. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to, but this is just one example that I'm using because I've experienced this with a couple of people. A young lady I know was in a relationship, and she already knew from God that the relationship was not healthy. Instead of her dealing with the relationship, even when she's in a relationship, her mother, family, friends, everyone is like, this is not good for you. But she refused to let go of it. She chose to stay in it. I'm going to stay in the relationship because I believe I can prove everybody wrong and I can handle it. And the relationship ended up leading her down a very negative path. She was unable to move forward in anything. She didn't realize how much she was losing as a result of her staying connected in something that was not healthy for her. And that's a very, very bad place to be. It's a very bad place to be when you stay in something and you know that it's not good for you. That's why God's positioning system has to be the one that you follow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were so
Okay?
right.
God's positioning system is essential. Because when we find our center, not only we find God's will, but we find the direction, but we have growth. And God takes us from glory to glory to glory. We find growth and we keep growing. When you put yourself in the right position and you line up with the things of God, and everything about you in your life lines up with the things that God is directing you to do, then you will find yourself right in the center of his will for your life. And this is where you begin to start exercising your purpose. Your motion. In him I live, move, and have my being. In everything that you do, when you move from one situation to the next, when you move from a job to a career, a business that you own, when you move from being broke to being in abundance, when you move from being lost to being found, when you move from being sad and depressed to being fulfilled and full of joy and happiness, your motion, everything about you starts to walk. It just opens the door for many more great things. Doesn't mean you won't have storms. It just means that you know how to move through them better. You have to understand that when you find your center, you come to the realization, I am made after God's own image. I'm an extension of him. I'm made after his image. So when he stepped out and created earth, didn't he accomplish what he stepped out to do?
Yes.
And if he stepped out to do that, Ebony and Sharon and Carrie and Annette and Jennifer, who left, I hope she comes back. I'm gonna have to inbox her to help her out because that was her first time. But if God stepped out and made all of these wonderful things happen with the power of the words that came out of his mouth, and if he left that same power in you, Annette, then what is your problem?
True.
If he left that same power in you, Sharon, what's your problem? If he left that same power in you, Carrie, and you, Ebony, what's the problem? And in you who watching this on replay, Ida, Brenda, or Jennifer, or whomever else, what is the problem? Anybody got anything to say? Cricket.
Well, when you look at those first 6 days of in Genesis, there was some symmetry going on there. He was lining things up, and he was in the middle of it. So, he spoke this, he said that, he declared this, he spoke. So there was symmetry. So, like you said, if he spoke it, he did it, then we got to line up with symmetry with him and find our center and go forth and do what he called us to do. Line yourself up, get yourself ready, find your passion, your desire. Find that thing only you can do.
That's it. When you find that passion.
Yes.
When you find your passion and you line yourself up to actually fulfill that passion, that's the center. You're in the center of God's will for your life. But the problem is sometimes when we get doing that, we question it because it don't feel good or it may not look good right now.
Yeah. And sometimes we're lazy too. We're lazy and, we give up when it looks hard. Sometimes we start off good, but it get hard. And we're like, oh, man. We were going through some stuff. I think it was yesterday. And I was like, oof, it's a lot of work. But it's worth it. It's worth it. So don't get tired. And we're doing it, in due season. You'll reap if you don't faint.
That is so true.
Yeah.
So we have to put ourselves in a position to line up our passion and make sure that our center and everything that wrote of ourselves, of our lives, of our dreams, of our vision, of our goals, of our hopes, all rotate around the axis. And my axis is Christ. I want everything about me to rotate around him.
Yeah.
So who is your center?
Yep.
Who is your center?
Balance. He's going to keep you balanced.
Huh?
I said he's going to keep you balanced.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Type it in. Type it in. I want to know. I want to know what you feel about your center. Type it in. Who is your center? What determines? What do you rotate everything about your life around? What makes you stay balanced? You have to look at that. You have to examine it. And all of this information that we gave you tonight will help you to further understand how to put yourself in the position to make sure that you're rotating around the right thing. Because if you're not rotating around the right thing, you're spinning tires on pavement, but you're not moving. What if the earth just stayed in one spot and it was just spinning on the axis in that one spot, but it's not moving? Then something is off, because the object is for it to spin and move. It moves around the sun 365 days. It does rotation around the sun. And every so often, the seasons change. You have your seasons change. Things about your life change. Things about the way you operate change. Things about the way you move change. The way you live change. It does not stay the same. It is designed to change. It is designed to shift. You are going to shift. And even when you get ready, get to the place that you've made it to what you see ahead of you in your vision, your purpose, guess what? You're going to end up in a whole nother shift. Finally learning balance and who provides the balance. Exactly, Annette. Finally learning. Finally. And it's him who provides it. We you know what? So going there, sometimes I realize we keep ourselves off balance so long, trying to be the balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
We think, we levitating. We spinning plates on this hand. We got the toe going. We got the other foot going. We don't have enough hands and feet. But we think we can balance it.
Yeah. Me too.
We waste a lot of years, a lot of time, a lot of focus. We waste it. We spend it in the wrong places thinking we're balancing. And we're not balancing. That's not how that happens. That's not how that happens. So I want us to really examine ourselves. Go ahead, Nate. You were going to say something?
Well, sometimes I find in my own life, I had to have somebody tell me I wasn't balanced.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I looked in the mirror, it goes back to looking in that mirror and then seeing that picture. Mm-hmm. I know something was off, but I didn't know quite what it was. And I had been imbalanced for so long. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what balance was. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I didn't know what center was, because I was off-centered for so many years. And what happens is, once you've been in a place so long, it becomes the norm. Mm-hmm. It really shouldn't be the norm, it becomes the norm. So now that you know you off, if you're off balance, now you know how to get back on balance. But we just need this kind of information, somebody to say, you know what, you've been doing this wrong for a minute. Like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, because I never looked at symmetry that way. Mm-hmm. I never looked at balance and finding my center. I used to say it because I thought it was cute but it gave me a different perspective. Now, again, when you change your mindset, you'll change your symmetry. You really will. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so true. So that's our prayer for you all tonight, is that you find your symmetry. You figure out what your axis is, and you're able to put yourself into proper rotation so that your life can stop spinning out of control. Because if the earth was ever off its axis, it would just explode.
Yeah.
If it gets knocked off its axis, it would explode. So we don't want you to experience an explosion in your life because you keep trying to balance things yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't do it. You're not designed to do it alone. You need him at the center of your life. You need to know and you need to have your axis right, your line of symmetry correct, so that when you get up and you look at yourself in the morning in the mirror to say your affirmations, that you're not just looking and saying, I'm going to show up, engage, and win. Okay, I'm good, but I'm going to show up, engage, and win. That's normal. Of course, you're going to have a little flakes in your eyes. But if you get up in the morning, you're like, show up, engage, and win. Well, the line is off.
Yeah.
The line is off. The symmetry is off. I don't care how hot my breath is, how sleepy I am. When I get in the mirror, I find this boldness. All right now. And I'm talking to me just like this. Girl, let me tell you something. I love it. I love it. It makes me feel good. It starts my day. And when I don't do it, I feel it. When I don't get up with that right attitude and that, I feel it. And it's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I don't encourage me, who's going to do it?
That's right. And I'm going to say this, and even when I was thinking about how the seasons change, but the symmetry still stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have the summer, winter, spring, fall, but that symmetry is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what you're going through, you still can stay lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Still stay lined up.
Still stay lined up.
Still find your center. Yeah, the storm's going to come. Yes, it's going to be hot. Yes, it's going to rain or whatever. The season's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
But change is good. It really is.
Change is not always negative.
No.
Change is good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we thank you all so much for coming on. I'm going to stop our recording now for our audience who will be watching it on replay.